Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 9th day of July, 2020. Well, some endings and completion today. We got some SCOTUS decisions. Well, looks like the president isn't above the law after all. Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes going forward. I suspect we're running out the clock, though, now. It's kind of what it feels like to me. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I hope that we never have to endure what we're enduring now ever again. I hope that we learn enough from this experience that going forward, we know better. And we don't let people, do this to us, lie to us, and send us down a garden path that is just crap. Nothing there but lies. It reminds me of the Wizard of Oz of ignore the man behind the curtain. Well, we need to know who the man behind the curtain actually is, because it isn't this guy. There's someone else back there. So who is it? Or is it a group of someone's? Who is it? We need to know. Because now apparently he's been sharing intel with Putin since 2017, just after coming into office. That's the latest report. So I don't know what this country is anymore. I really don't. I don't think anyone else does either. That's the problem. We ought to be able to depend on a few things in life. And, who we are here ought to be one of them. Maybe we never have been able to. Maybe it was always an illusion. But at this point, we need to figure it out. We just got to figure it out. And we will. I mean, what choice are we going to have? Eventually, people are going to get tired of the conflict because here's the thing, it's not that some of us can't feel that way on our own about other people, but most of this has been instigated and intensified by the guy in the Oval Office. Well, anyway. So if this is your first time here, I chat a little bit. I just did esoteric influences. If you want to check that out, it's processing. It's loaded, but it has to process. It uploads, then it processes on YouTube. So it's processing right now. And so when I get down here, I'll go ahead and I'll publish that one while I watch this one. It's a process. Anyway, I think I've shuffled enough. I like to just chat a little bit while I shuffle, so I make sure I get this to be as random as possible, because if I don't, just sure as I don't, if I just maybe shuffle 3 or 4 times, I'm going to pull the same cards I had yesterday. I will. I dropped a card on the floor. It was the 10 of Pentacles, and I actually drew it that day. I forgot to mention that, and I knew it, and I forgot to say it. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. Now I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the 13th one each time. I want to be as random as possible. I don't want my shuffling to influence or my lack thereof to influence. So I just like to take the 13th one each time. I was born on the 13th. That's not a process anyone else has to do. It's just mine. Everything happens to me in 13s. So I won't bore you with that right now. I've talked about it before, but yeah, I mean, I was ill for 13 years, and lots of things happened to me in 13s. I used to wake up at 3:13 every morning for 5 years. Yeah. So anyway, let's get started. If we need more cards other than the 3, we'll take them. Otherwise, we'll move on to the Elder Futhark rune, and I'm going to use my Rowan runes again today. I just did a set of Rowan runes, which I have a tree on my property, and so I let the branch dry for a long time. I don't know if it was a year or if it was less, but anyway, a long time. And then I just had my husband slice me some runes. I said, cut here. So he did some of the smaller ones for the runes, and he did some bigger ones for bind runes. And so I have all that now in Rowan, which I'm so thrilled. That's a sacred Druid tree, and I have Druid ancestry, so I feel a connection to Druidry. I'm not a Druid, although if I were to choose a path like that, I would definitely choose that one. So would my husband. So you know, and I guess it's because of my own Druid roots. He likely has some too, although I haven't been able to find any of his yet, although I did find where our families cross in the early 1300s. So that was interesting. We share ancestry and that line from that point forward, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, it's in the 1300s. We all cross, you realize that. We all do somewhere. Well, most of us anyway. So let's take our first 3 cards and we'll see what we have for today. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe anyway, assuming I can get my hands to work. Oh, well, we have the Tower. th card of the Major Arcana, or card 16, I should say. Let me see if I can find through the motherwort here that's drying. It's drying pretty well, too. I want to find, well, oh, come on. I want to quickly go through here, the Thoth Tarot, and find the Tower for you guys. It's hands down, I mean, it's explosive, and I know you're going to see exactly what I do in it. And so I want to take a moment to show this to you. And I've got the big ones here. I'm not using the little ones here, so you'll get a real, let's just say it's very explosive and fiery and all kinds of things. So let's make sure they don't fall. Oh, well, God, it was right on the bottom. I probably had it out one other time. That's the Tower in the Thoth Tarot. Look at that. Look at the sky. Yeah, that's what's happening to our country right now. And not in a good way. Unless we can live in truth and clarity, and we know what that is going forward. But, yeah. Tower is actually not an evil card. It's not a negative card. It's blowing the lid off perceptions. And you know, we've got so many planets in retrograde. I don't know if there's 6 or 7 or what we've got. Ceres is now in retrograde. So expressing how we nurture others and the unity we feel. Ceres is kind of about at one-ment with people. So it's about unity and nurturing and things like that. So we're exploring that and what that looks like in our lives and whether or not we have enough of it, basically. But the rest of it, it's really all about loosening perceptions surrounding relationships and in one facet or another. And I really think that that's, you know, it represents this 22 year quite well. And I think so does the Tower. So we got some change going on here in terms of perception. So let's see what the next card is. Or not. Jeez. Ooh, Judgment. We had this yesterday. 20th card. If you were here yesterday, you might remember what we talked about Judgment. It's just awakening. It's awakening to truth. So if you are blowing off the lid of your perceptions, you're now awakening to truth. Again, the SCOTUS decision today regarding the idea of a president not being above the law is significant. Whether we get to see what's in those financials or not, it sent a message that this isn't going to be tolerated. And given that it was a 7-2 decision, that was the split on it, that's pretty significant. I mean, that's pretty significant, especially with the current court that we have, for them to do that. I think it was, I don't know who it was. Was it Thomas? No, or did Thomas vote with? I'll have to look. I don't know who the 2 dissenting ones were. I'll have to look. Because now that I think about it, what I read, I don't think that's the 2 that were the dissenting. I think that I think it was more of, yeah, can you believe these guys did this, you know, kind of thing. So, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see if we get a third major card, though. Because I think Source was guiding their hand. The Queen of Cups. Not a major, but a powerful woman. And again, you know, if we're talking that moon, is it moon trine series? Let me see here real quick. Conjunct, not trine, a conjunct between the moon and Ceres promises close relationships with women, especially in terms of nurturing. So getting the Queen of Cups. Listen, here's the thing about truth. When you've got, say you've got half the people that believe one thing, half the people that believe another, and one of them is right and the other one is wrong. Okay, it's not a matter of perception. It's literally this or that. There's no shades of gray. There's no, oh, well, it could be subjective. Just think of it that way for this argument, okay? For just this purpose. So you've got one right and one wrong. It's going to take time for the one side that's wrong for their perceptions to shift. It's going to take something big that happens where it's like, oh my gosh. Now, there's so many of those, though, that have been coming out that it's difficult to know which one to pin your awareness on, basically, or that shift in awareness on. I mean, is it going to be that we read today from, was it Ryan Grimm in Just Security? I don't know if it was published today or yesterday, but I saw it today, that this business of handing secrets off to Putin started in that, I guess he shows a timeline that began on February 9th of 2017. It's a couple weeks after the inauguration. This began then. So it didn't begin a couple of months ago. It didn't begin before a year ago. It began then. And so the bounties, to him, it's nothing, right? So, but basically, when we talk about the awakening, we're going to put the Queen in the middle here. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to leave it in order. A lot of the times I like to do this in a yod where you've got two supportive energies and then a focal point. I like to do it that way, but I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I think I'm definitely going to read it just as it is. So start with the Tower. Or the Tower. God, I love that card. You know, the Thoth Tarot is my favorite deck. If I had my druthers, I would be working solely with it. But I like other decks too. So I can't help myself. I have to have a lot of decks and I have to use them all. Well, not all. This is the one that is my family, actually, this one. Well, this would be the Hanged Man. But anyway, this was commissioned by people I'm related to in Italy or Sicily or wherever. I'm not sure, somewhere over there. It's the Visconti family, and I don't know how to say the other one. The other name starts with an S, but that's who did this. They had some guy named Bruno somebody other. I don't know who it was. Or maybe, no, because it was for Bianca. It was for their 10th wedding anniversary or something. So the husband had it commissioned for Bianca. And so you'll see Bianca through all of this. And I know there was one time I was listening to David Wilcock, and he was suggesting, I don't know what it was on, but he was suggesting that they were talking about this family. And I already knew at that point that I was related to him because I've done my ancestry. And he was talking about how the head looks elongated. They didn't think it was, in his opinion, it didn't look like just the hairstyle, because you'll see pictures of him and you see him in the cards as well of where the hair is way back, and it doesn't look like the traditional beehive that a woman would wear. But then you have to wonder, was that a derivation on people with elongated skulls? I don't know. Anyway, that was what he said, and I started laughing, when he was saying it. I was like, oh my God, well, I suppose I can think about that for a while and see if that feels right to me. I don't know. It doesn't feel either way to me, so I don't know. Maybe that's just a supposition, something he's postulating. But that was interesting that he said that, though. I'm getting out the cards, and I'm pulling up the pictures. I'm like, where? Let me see, because I hadn't noticed, And sure enough, there it is. Oh, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to blow the lid off our perceptions today. The 16th card of the Major Arcana, you're looking at a 7 energy, allowing things to come to balance. I mean, it almost looks like the scale. Here's the middle, right? And here are the two people that represent the two pans. But it's blowing the lid off perception. It really is. It's transformation, transforming perception, and allowing things to settle out and to shift into something that seems more clear. We can get carried away in how we think and feel about things, and we don't give ourselves a chance to see the other side of the picture. And sometimes when you do, you may come out still in the same place. It's very clear, yes, this happened. Yes, you're upset about it or whatever, and you're right to be. But then sometimes you can let things settle out. And when, all the debris gets blown away, you can really see the forest for the trees, as they say, and you can figure out that maybe you need to adjust your perception a little bit, or maybe a lot, But it's the whole idea of the seven energy of letting things come to balance and letting things come to a settling point, and then discovering there what the truth really is. And when that happens, we awaken. And we come into balance again. And it drives me nuts that they spell this with an E after the G. I don't. Anyway. We have the angel Gabriel above blowing his horn, waking everybody up out of their coffins. Pure expression because they're all nude. It's the moment of truth. Well, sort of. I did this. Let me see if I have it here. I might have already thrown it out. I think I did. But I talked about this, I think it was yesterday. Didn't we have judgment yesterday, or was it the day before? I don't know. But basically, when you're looking at the awakening's got to be on the level of spirit. When we see this cross here, and I showed this before. I'll just do it briefly. We got spirit at the top, form at the bottom, the line of the abyss in the center. You can also think of that in terms of balancing spirit with form. Spirit, but when we talk about form, we're talking ego. I mean, it can be the physical presence. It can be, our surroundings. It can be career. It can be all kinds of things, family, structure, all of that. But, because you're talking earth element. But in this case, it's really more ego that we're talking about. And again, with the perceptions being blown apart and restructured, we can awaken to the truth and come back into some kind of spirit-ego balance where you're transmuting ego into spirit. When I wrote the book, my most recent book, Shifting Perception, that's really what that's for. It's called a manual for transformation. And yes, I know that's provocative, but realistically, if you really understood how simple it is, it's really shifting your attention to something else. That's all it is. And what you're shifting it to is the awareness that you are a soul, and that is predominantly what you are, even here. Without the soul, there would be no reason for a body. It's the soul wishing to experience life in tangible form on behalf of the Creator. We're aspects of the Creator. In a sense, you could say we're collectively the Creator in non-physical, but we're also collectively the Creator in form. And the notion of bringing the kingdom of heaven, establishing the kingdom of heaven on earth, well, that's that awareness. And once you're aware that you're the soul and that you're here to, keep your frequency high and not down in the muck of the ego, then suddenly you have the kingdom, you have the kingdom of heaven on earth, don't you? That's what the earth was supposed to be. It was supposed to be this brilliant place of high frequency. Then things happened and it got reduced, and now we're working our way back. That's the whole working our way back to the Creator, not doing good works to work our way back to God and getting God's good graces. We never left God's good graces or the Great Mother's good graces. We never left that. Even when we're here, even when we're confused, we never left that, you see. So, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, the awakening that we have is simply to who we are. That we forget what the body looks like, we forget the ego, and we focus on higher self and spirit. Whatever you want to call that whole energy, that's you. I mean, that's the real you, right? So that's the awakening there. Now, if we go to the Queen of Cups, how are we going to manifest this? We see the Queen, and I love this. You know, her cloak, her cape there, literally is part of the rocks below. Just melds into it, doesn't it? You see the cherubs. Cups is the water element. It's love. It's emotion. It's empathy, compassion. It's the moon conjunct Ceres. Ceres in retrograde. Queen is an authority person. But she's compassionate. You know, she's not passive aggressive like the King of Cups is. She's somebody that's focused. And she's focused on expressions of nurturing and compassion. She's into the occult, so she's a witch. She's an empath. She's somebody that takes hold of things and brings them to balance. So I think that when we blow off the lid off the tower, and we blow the lid off of our perceptions and we awaken to the truth, maybe that truth is compassion and nurturing of others. But that's where we need to be, rather than, you know, at loggerheads over whether or not you're going to wear a mask, and you're somebody who's wearing one and then takes it down so you can go cough on a 1-year-old. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about blowing the lid off perception, understanding the truth of it all, and moving forward in shared purpose. That's really what this has all been about the whole time. That's been this whole notion that religion teaches of working your way back to God by doing good works. No. It's about awakening to the soul within and the higher self within, and allowing that frequency to rise, and understanding that you're one with other people. That's what it's all been about. We come in here fragmented. If you were to think about it this way, say one oversoul was responsible for expelling all the souls here. I don't think that's true, but who knows? If that's the case, then everything you see, everyone you see here is the other side of self. Even if it's not one individual, you know, oversoul expressing all of us here, even if it's multiple ones, you're still seeing the other side of self. But if it were, then you really would be seeing the other side of self, no question, because it would all be, you know, souls expressed from that one, you know, intense oversoul. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going on here, but I'm saying that I'm just giving it as an example just so that you can understand it better. So say you got one, right? It expresses everybody you see, everything you see, all right? Well, if you go along with the notion of we need to work our way back to God, aren't we working our way back to integration with one another because we're part of that same oversoul? Isn't that really the process? We don't have to worry about the Creator, the Great Mother. We don't have to worry about that. That's a constant. That's all that is. We're just a little piece of the manifestation of it. So we don't have to worry about that. Now, I wanted to be sure on Ewas here, so I want to look really quick, because there's one thing here that I know, not I was, but Ewas. Yeah, binding toward mutual end. Again, that process, and I'll draw this out for you, Ewas. That's the, I believe, the 20th rune. Is it the 20th? No. Is it? Yes. No, it's the 19th. It's the 19th. So that would be a one energy totally then. Yeah, and so new beginnings in terms of partnership. It's Manas, that's the 20th. And that was from the esoteric influences for today. So that's how I got confused there. But this is Ewas. water element rune. Change, momentum, flow, but flow to one another. Okay? And I'll show you that. You've got, let me get the right piece of paper here. Well, this was meant as from Esoteric Influences. So there's where I exploded that. So if you watch that, you know what I'm talking about in terms of manas. But here you have ewas, which is, you know, part of it. So I guess we actually had lagus in this too. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, lagus forward and reverse, so we can add that as well up here for manas. But we're going to do that here for ewas. So here's your M, because that's what ewas looks like. And from that we have flow, lagus, forward and reversed. But look at it, it's connecting together. We're flowing together in shared purpose. Same as this, you know, nurturing self and others and allowing that reciprocity to be felt. Whereas manas is the individual in society, ewas is more just you and me kind of thing. You and someone else, and the flow and the reciprocity that we feel with one another. That energetic interaction is really what this is about. So again, if we blow the lid off perception and we awaken to the truth of who we are as love energy, of light energy, you know, in sync with one another, in unity with one another, then we flow together in ewas. Binding toward a mutual end. What is the mutual end? It's shared abundance, shared purpose, shared everything. And no, that doesn't mean that we're going to all belong to an ashram. It's not that. I don't mean that kind of sharing. But if you can at least get on the same page with one another, then I think that you do better than when you don't. I mean, don't you think? So let's see. Which one do we have here? Do we have acquisitio? Yeah, gain. And I still need to do that video for. And I may get to do it this weekend. It looks kind of like, well, it's going to be like, I might get my hay cut this weekend though. I don't know. But I've got it's going to be like 87, and who wants to be out in that? I don't. I'd rather be in the air conditioning, doing a video. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get a chance then to do the geomancy videos this weekend. I may do more than one. I may do one that just talks about them first, and then I may do one, just short ones, and then I'm going to do the shield chart one, and then I'll probably do the house chart one. I don't normally do that. I don't normally use the house chart. I normally just use the shield chart, and I can show you ways to do that. But I think I'm probably going to do that house one too, because it's kind of cool. It's just putting them in the house positions around the chart. So and then interpreting from that standpoint, you know, what the message of the, you know, first house or second house, whatever is, you know, in relationship to that rune. So anyway, this is acquisitio, or gain. That's a missio, or loss. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean financial. Okay, just think of it in terms of gain, the addition of, or conversely, the loss of something. So if you were having issues with a partner and you got a missio, it might mean the ending of them. You see, that's what I mean by that type of positive negative effect. So increase versus decrease. So a loss with a missio could then mean the loss of that type of experience, and you're going to, in other words, it heals. All right, you have healing that takes place. So it could even be that. But right now we're going to talk about acquisitio, so gain. What do we gain by this? You know, if we what do we gain by dropping perception and letting our perceptions soften and understand that maybe, you know, it was subjective and it was not really based in truth. Particularly if we listen to someone else and they were the ones that stimulated all this, you know, it happens. I don't know. It just does. Then we get off track and maybe we act and do things we shouldn't do, and we hurt people, right? All because you listen to somebody. You know, I see that happening now, you know, with people who are adamant about not wearing masks. Uh, I think that a lot of them are supporters of the president, and if that's the case, is what it seems like, because they're sort of saying they are. So that's the only reason I'm saying it. I'm sure there may be some that aren't, but you know, you've got people who are, and if they are, then they're being guided by somebody who's foolish. And I don't think really cares if we live or die. So I don't know. It's all about him. So it's not in, you know, taking care of the country just isn't in his wheelhouse. He doesn't possess it here, and he darn sure doesn't possess it here. I mean, you have to ask yourself, where is this man's heart? Where is his compassion for children? To threaten to take federal funding away from schools if they don't open fully. Is he nuts? You know, it's never about looking at what's happening right in front of you. It's always this diluted, overarching, you know, rule or law or decision or command that you got to do X, Y, and Z, when X, Y, and Z isn't even remotely possible. They don't care. Do it anyway. Make it work. And you can't. It's that kind of short-sighted thinking. I think that, though, what we gain today with Acquisitio, we're going to gain a little bit different perspective on things. And if, you know, whatever it takes to do that, fine, I suppose. But I think that if we send our kids back to school in the fall, I mean, what happens? Every time you send your kids back to school, what happens? Everybody gets sick, get a cold, get something. Now you're going to get the COVID? Those precious babies going to get the COVID? Because they stupidly said, oh, no, it won't hurt kids. Kids are fine. Kids are resilient. No, they're not. They're kids. They're children. I see moms in masks at the store. Their children have got nothing on. Nothing. It's like, come on. And then you'll see one mom. I saw one mom going into the store. She had 2 little girls with her. Everyone was in a mask. Everyone. We have to get on the same page here. And then we gain. If we don't get on the same page, we don't. We lose. So, anyhow. Bind together in mutual end. Express was in your life. You know, even if you think you don't need to wear one for yourself, wear it for other people. If you're shedding virus, you might not know. Well, you probably won't know. If you're asymptomatic, you're not going to know. You're going to think you're fine. And there you are, dumping virus everywhere. Every time you talk, every time you breathe. If it's on your hands, you touch things, you're putting it there. The things that we thought we knew in the very beginning have somewhat altered over time. And that's just what happens. More stuff comes out as we see more and more people get this. What does it look like? What kind of a struggle are they having? But what you don't do is try to gain at the expense of others. So this new drug that they find for super sick people, when they're really, I mean, they're literally at death's door, and they've been giving them this drug, and it seems to make a difference. It's not for the general population. It's just for the most sick, I guess. And so apparently the guy in the Oval Office is wanting to buy it all up. Well, for who are you? I mean, you don't give the PPE, and we're running out of PPE stuff again in the hospitals. He won't give us that. So what are you going to do with that? What is it called? Remdesivir or something? Something. Remdesivir? Something like that. I mean, who are you going to, like, hold it hostage? What are you going to do with it? Because clearly he doesn't know what to do with the vents and the gloves and the masks and the gowns. He doesn't know what to do with that. He gives that to everybody else. He confiscates it. They buy them, right? They take them off the tarmac. They just take them. They steal them from the States. So what does he want it for? I don't think he I mean, seriously, what? And now he's talking about hydroxychloroquine again? Really? So yeah, let's awaken. Let's blow the lid off perceptions. Let's awaken. Get back to nurturing self and others. come back into reciprocity and binding toward mutual end. So we gain a little. See how that works? Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go. Have a wonderful day. I won't see you until Monday for Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune, but Esoteric Influences will go up every day. So look for that if you would. I'd love you to do that. I posted over on Instagram too, and I posted around, but it's, again, both of these videos go up on the side panel up toward the top of the blog. So you can click on them there. If you want to get the Esoteric Influences in your mailbox, in your email on Sundays, you can do that. I put out a newsletter with them. Very rarely am I putting in any other stuff now that's affiliate related. Maybe for an herbal program or something, you might see something that's just a little blurb. But it's going to be the Esoteric Influences, and then there's like 4 of the books I've published are down there. I think Shifting Perception is down there. That one is the one that I wrote, to help shift perception from ego to spirit. Really, it's just a shift in perception. It's just a shift in attention. You just have to have some ways to help you learn to do that. And pretty soon then, I don't know. I mean, it can change your life. I don't know. At least change your perception and your focus of where you're putting your efforts. Are they purely to assert your own, desires and needs at the expense of others, or are your desires and needs going to be beneficial? Meaning those will also be beneficial for others. It's discernment. And I hate that word anymore because it's totally overused and nobody does it. It's like, oh, you have to practice discernment, or oh, I practice discernment. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't. So anyway, well, because then they'll say all the stuff they do. It's like, no, you practiced nothing. You did what you wanted to do, and you're calling it discernment. So anyway, I guess that's it. Have a wonderful weekend. Check out the blog. It's all stuff is going to go up there all the time. Correspondences and astrological information go up most days, Monday through Friday usually. Sometimes I do it on the weekends. It's just if I have time. If I don't, then I don't. But check all that out, particularly if you're working magic, because the correspondences are going to tell you what you need to know for that day. If you're not at home, if you don't have an access to your grimoire, if you can't remember something, it might be there and you can just grab it. And if you need a particular deity, or you need a particular candle color, or a particular stone or herb to use to show up your magic, then it's there. Also, the current outlook will be there for that day, for noon. It's done for noon each day. But beyond that, I guess that's it. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you on Monday. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Please wear a mask if you go out. And blessed be.